Hi everybody, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, and today's contract tip has to do with making sure that your buyer and seller are fully involved in the process from the time you list the home until you go to closing. And coming at it from a little bit different perspective, and this is in order to make sure they understand what is going on, what options are available to them, and to protect you, the real estate agent. So a couple things. One is when you are taking a listing, make sure to confirm some basic things about the property. For example, definitely a copy of the warranty deed or access to the warranty deed to make sure that the person with whom you are dealing with, who is signing the listing agreement, is on title. We've had an issue lately where we have a signed listing agreement and a signed contract, and it turns out that person who has signed everything is not the title owner. They are related to the title owner, and they are in the process of getting a power of attorney for closing. But nevertheless, we don't have anything at this point. So number one, you want to make sure that the person that's signing the contracts is on title or has signing authority by virtue of a power of attorney or of the articles of incorporation in an LLC documents or something like that. Next thing to consider is when the seller is describing the property to you, so that you can list it, make a flyer, do your marketing, list it on the MLS listing services, you want to confirm several things. The water and the sewer. Is it connected to public sewer? Is it on a septic tank? Is the water public water? Is it from a well? Another issue would be the actual lot lines. How do you know what the lot is? For example, if you are writing up a marketing piece or completing the remarks for the MLS services, and you say something about the size of the lot or a backyard suitable to fence in for a large dog, or something about driveways or various types of parking or something where somebody can add on. You need to make sure that that is actually the case. And sometimes the seller needs to make sure of that. So you would want to find out if there is an existing survey on the property. One of the things also that can help with this, or just a double check from this, is to, after you have listed it in the listing services, print out a copy of the report, the FMLS report, Georgia MLS report, Navica report, whatever MLS services you are using. Get that to the seller, have them review it, and have them sign off on it. You actually want their initials or their signature approving that how you are describing the property that they have approved of that. That's really very important. When you are working with a buyer, there are all sorts of things that a buyer has available to them that they may not be aware of because it's not specifically in the contract. For example, termite clearance letter. That's not automated in the contract unless the buyer's getting a VA insured loan. Then there is a termite letter required, but it's probably a good idea for a buyer to get a termite clearance letter on the property. Survey. Years ago, I've been practicing for 25 years now, so it's been within the past 25 years. It used to have in the contract, in the GAR contract, that a survey was required. Well, GAR took it out of the contract and it's no longer required. So is it a good idea for a buyer to get a survey? Yeah, probably. They would probably want to know what it is that they are buying. You want to make sure, the buyer will want to make sure that when they look out on their deck and see all this spacious land that they perhaps want to add a garage, add a workshop, whatever, to find out, do you own that land? Is that something that is available to you? All the parking spaces on the property, is that all part of you? Does your neighbor have an easement on your land? Is there a garage that's hanging over? Is your garage hanging over? A survey is really a pretty important part that of the whole transaction of purchasing a home, that a buyer may not be aware of, that is something that they can and probably should purchase to find out what it is that they are buying. There's other kinds of things. An inspection, not only an independent home inspection, but a separate roof inspection. A lot of inspectors don't inspect the roofs, or they might look, or they might have a drone, but is that a true roof inspection? Foundation inspection, structural inspection, all kinds of things. If they are important to a buyer, the buyer will want to have these things checked out. Now, what you want to avoid is having issues after closing where you don't want a client, after a wonderful transaction, coming up to you and saying, oh my gosh, I went to go build a fence because we're getting a puppy for Christmas and it's going to be a large dog, had the fencing company out there, and I found out my fence isn't large enough for the dog. It's not what I thought it was. Or, wow, I found some termite damage I had no idea about. Or, gosh, you never told me to rekey the locks. I found out a neighbor 2 doors down has a key to my house. There's all kinds of issues. So, a couple of things just in the contract, in the GAR contract, it specifically states, and I will tell you, let's talk about a survey first. It states in paragraph B1B under, again, this is the GAR purchase and sale agreement, and it states that the buyer may examine the title and obtain a survey of the property and furnish the seller with a written statement of title objections at or prior to the closing. If the seller fails or is unable to satisfy valid title objections at or prior to the closing, or any unilateral extension thereof, which would prevent the seller from conveying good and marketable title of the property, then the buyer, among its other remedies, may terminate this agreement without penalty. So a survey is mentioned in that respect, but it is not really brought out unless you, the agent, have this discussion with the buyer that it's a really good idea to have a survey. The other thing with all of these issues is under the brokerage section of the purchase and sale agreement. So again, this is the GAR purchase and sale agreement under the paragraph brokerage relationships of this transaction. There is a disclaimer, and it specifically states that the buyer and the seller, so both sides of the public of a transaction, have not relied on any advice or representations of brokers other than that what is included in this agreement. Brokers shall have no duty to inspect the property or to advise the buyer or seller of any matter relating to the property which could have been revealed through a survey, appraisal, title search, official Georgia wood infestation report, utility bill review, septic system inspection, well water test, tests for radon, asbestos, mold, methamphetamine, and lead-based paint, moisture tests of stucco or synthetic stucco, inspection of the property by a professional construction expert, structural engineer, or environmental engineer, review of this agreement and transaction by an attorney, financial planner. It goes on and on and on and on. My point in bringing that out to you is these are still things. So bottom line is, in Georgia is a caveat emptor state. And bottom line is the buyer is responsible for making sure of that they are satisfied with whatever it is they are buying before they exchange money for goods or services. Now, in our real estate contracts, in the GAR contract and in the RE forms contract, there is a due diligence period to allot a time frame without penalties, so the buyer may make sure that they are satisfied with the property before going through. They have a free right to terminate, or not a free right, but a right to terminate without penalty if they do so within that time frame for any or no reason. So there are a lot of things that a buyer will want to check out. But again, it's really important for you as the agent to keep your clients involved in the situation, both on the buyer side and the seller side. Here at Maximum One, we have a document for you that I implore you to please use with your buyers. It is called Service Recommendations, and it is available for you in the reference section of Paperless Pipeline. And it states, it is professionally recommended that when purchasing a home, you should have it inspected by a certified licensed inspector for various reasons. Have the roof inspected, get a termite clearance letter and a bond, get a survey of your property so you know the boundaries and easements, get owner's title insurance to protect your interest, and have the house rekeyed. And then it has a checklist. It says, I choose to get a Georgia wood infestation clearance letter and bond. Yes or no? I choose to have the property inspected by an independent home inspector of my choice. Yes or no? I choose to have the roof inspected by an independent roof inspector. Yes or no? It goes on, it addresses radon, mold. I choose to get a property survey prior to closing, so forth and so on. And then there are some fill in the blanks for you to fill in the blanks with some other issues. For example, checking out the covenants and restrictions of a homeowners association. Those would be some other things to fill in the blank. Then it states, all parties agree to indemnify and hold agent and brokerage harmless from and against all claims, injuries, suits, and damages arising out of the party's decision with respect to the above choices. And then the client signs it and the agent signs it. Again, this form is designed not only to protect you, the real estate agent, but also to protect the public and to protect a buyer, to bring to their attention that these are some regular ongoing issues, not issues, but parts associated with buying or selling a house. In this situation, it's buying, with respect to that form, that they should consider. And they have the option, yes or no, with respect to this transaction. So just wanted to bring those things to your attention and to avoid any issues prior to closing or after closing for anybody involved. Hope this contract tip helped you out. Thank you so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.